Hi, Gary.
Hello, how are you?
Hi. Yeah, so how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm at home, but I'm healthy and I'm fine, so that's good.
I see.
How about you?
Yeah, well, as you know, that the state of emergency is just lifted. So, gradually, I'm going back to the normal life gradually. But still, half of my time is at home, and then half of my time is at the office. Mm.
Yeah, I understand how you feel. Well, I have to
Mm.
say,
Mm.
my full time is at home now, so I don't still don't even have that. Yeah.
I understand. Well, today, I have a question because, you are so-called foreign resident living in Japan. And in this pandemic time, did you have any inconvenience or any kind of a comment about the policy of Japanese government or basically daily life or service or whatever? If you have any comment, just I'd like to take a look and I listen to.
Yeah, I think, I've been able to stay at home, and thankfully my companies that I work for have been more or less efficient in dealing with the pandemic. But I have to say, I was quite frustrated at times with how it was being dealt with. Also, my wife, for example, the company she works for was very bad at handling it. And yeah, I mean, I think the general feeling I had was like, wow, I have to do something because it feels like the authorities weren't doing much or they weren't doing it fast enough.
Mm.
So it felt like it was up to me not to leave the house. And sometimes when I arrived, I just moved to Tokyo like a few months ago,
Mm.
and in Osaka everyone was a bit careful already. In
Mm.
Tokyo, it looked like everyone was having fun and going to Hanami. So it was kind of a shock, honestly, to see how careless people seemed here. Also because I was hearing a lot of news from home, and
Mm.
seeing it comparing to here, it was really a shock.
I see. How do you think, like, because your country, Spain, you had a really hard time, and of course, Basque, you are coming from Basque, kind of quite a unique place inside of Spain, but still, in general, Spain itself, just they're really having a tough time. And how about that, comparing with Japan? And do you have any comment about it?
Yeah, I in Spain, as you mentioned, it's been very, very tough. Um, the measures were also, I have to say, it was also a slow reaction by the
Oh.
authorities there. There was a lot of things were done badly, I have to say, but I feel like when they did take measures, they took them all the way, and they've been in a proper lockdown for, I think it's been 2 months now. They're starting
Mm-hmm.
to relax. Uh, my family, for example, their life has changed during those 2 months, of course, and it might change from now on.
Mm.
Also, the economic repercussions will be um, quite strong.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's that's what I said. It's a contrast with Japan, where I felt like everyone was scared of having tough measures.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
yeah, it felt like both the government and also the media, I feel like the priority in Japan was not to make anyone scared, and
Mm. Mm.
and that
Mm.
was my impression anyway. Whereas in Spain, everyone was like maybe too much. I don't know, but panicking and like complaining, like the thing were done badly, whatever. I felt
Ah.
like, yeah,
That's interesting because which means like a Japanese message is more like I mean, can I say scared people, then just behave well. Then
yeah,
Spain's case, maybe people more like energetically complaining about it.
yes, yes.
That's
Actually,
interesting. Mm.
one of the big differences, and it was almost this has been I've been in Japan already more than 5 years, but this was a new culture shock for me, because in Spain things were slow and they were done badly, but because of that, people were really complaining a lot, really strongly, and eventually there was a reaction. Uh, But in Japan, I felt, at least in my circle of people,
Mm.
I felt like things were also done slow, also a little bit badly, but there was not that much criticism. Some people, of course, some people criticize this and that, but if I looked at my friends' social media, whatever, in Spain, people are commenting on it. They're like angry or saying this or saying that. And I felt like in Japan, it was not the priority. The priority is like, let's just stay calm. So yeah.
Yeah. Like a so-called, my feeling is so-called invisible, how can I say, power in Japan. That is like, how can I say, people just follow. Otherwise, kind of a strange, like it's not harmonious among Japanese. That is why it worked for maintain the distance and wear the mask, something like this. And comparing, for example, like in the United States, it's interesting also phenomena because everybody is saying different things and already revitalizing economy, even if people are dying. So it's interesting comparison anyway.
Yeah, I think you're completely right in that. It's definitely you have seen. I feel like because of this whole coronavirus crisis, you see the differences in approach in each culture, right? But yeah, sometimes I have to. I don't know. I've been frustrated again. I have to say because I would see people, a lot of foreigners in Japan, talking about problems going to the hospital, or for example, I cannot go with my wife to the hospital when she needs to now, and like the hospitals in Japan seem to be in a very bad situation, but I kind of have this disconnect where I don't feel that in the air, in the normal media or in the streets. So for me, it's strange. I'm hearing these terrible things, but I see people being very calm. So I have to say, although, well, it seems like it's more or less working in Japan, so it's not that it can't be that bad.
For you, it was easy to share the information with the Japanese authority, or like as a foreign resident, it is easy. You can understand Japanese, so maybe you can understand what is going on here. But in generally speaking, you got enough information in English or any languages from abroad.
It's you have to look for it because even if I do speak Japanese, it's not that easy to get the information I'm looking for. So I did feel like it was a bit difficult to follow the information. As I said, if I look up, media from Europe, Spanish media or British media, front page, they're telling you first what's happening with the current situation, and then maybe other news. I felt like with Japanese media, I had to look for it. It's like maybe some comment about the economy, about the the effects of this crisis in some sector. But I felt like also because of my Japanese not being perfect, I felt like I had to do a little bit of an effort to find the information. It was not so much.
It's interesting. I see. So during the pandemic time, of course, you have to stay at home and inside Tokyo, and Tokyo is new place for you also. But how you maintain your so-called mental health? How you maintain that? How did you do that?
Not very easily. Well, I'm lucky enough that I like being at home, so I don't get stressed because I'm at home. But it was very difficult for me to. And it's still very difficult for me to have to work at home and also have free time at home. Also, the idea that I'm constantly receiving emails and writing emails, writing emails, it feels like I'm always working or half working.
Oh yeah. Some people are making that comment. I understand that. There are no border between the private and the working time.
Yeah, and that kills me. So what I'm trying to do now is when I change positions in the table, I sit on one side when I work, on another when I don't work. And when I don't work, I close the laptop completely. And I don't
Right.
want to do that.
To do it, you need a kind of a strict mindset to control it.
Yes, yes. And I need a physical change.
Physical change, yeah.
In my mind.
Maybe that is a theme for the so-called new normal in the future too, right? I mean, how to maintain such kind of, rule inside the people's mind to work.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a challenge, and I feel like it's interesting because it's a very different set of skills to what we've used so far. For example, now as you know, I teach languages, and teaching languages in a classroom and teaching it online, they're very, very different. So the skills I had, they're not really any good for what I'm doing now. So I feel like it's the same with any work. Like you really have to develop a new skill, and some people maybe are very good at it, but some people like me, you really need to say no. This time I finish it.
I'm not good at either, Okay. Well, Gary, thank you so much for your time. And let's stay in touch, and please stay healthy, okay?
Thank you very much. Same to you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
はい、ですね、ガリさんですね、彼はね、今東京に住んでるんですけどね、もともとはですね、スペインの北の方のバスク地方の方なんですよね。で、それで、今東京外国語大学で、スペイン語とか、それからバスク語とか、そういう特殊な言語ですよね、これを教えているんですね。で、英語もすごく堪能な、非常にね、優秀な人なんですけどね、私の古い友達です。彼がね、言ってたことで一つ二つちょっと面白いことがありましたよね。まずね、日本人っていうのはね、どちらかというとね、お互いに恐怖心を持ちながら静かになっていると。つまりなんていうかな、こういうコロナだって言ってどれだけ怖いかということの恐怖心からずーっとね、なんていうかな、静かに、自分のマネージをすると。いうことで、うまくパンデミックをね、切り抜けようとしていると。それに対してスペインはね、逆にね、みんながみんなどんどんね、自分の感情でコンプレインすると。どんどん自分を表現してコンプレインしながらね、その中で、調整していくというこのやり方の違いがね、非常に面白かったですね。コミュニケーションの違いですよね。で、その中でね、彼も言ってましたけども、今課題なのは、個人の生活をどうマネージするかということですよね。実はですね、アルゼンチンの人なんかも同じこと言ってましたけどね、いつ働いて、いつ休むのか、個人と仕事とはどうなっているのか、このね、ボーダーラインが、いわゆるテレワークとかステイホームになった時に、分からなくなるんですよね。で、このことがね、彼自身もマネージとしては大変だねと。これをやるには、やっぱりそれなりの、何らかの自分なりのルールを作ってちゃんとやっていかないとしょうがないですよね。それは私たち全員に言える課題じゃないかなと。これからよく言われるニューノーマルなんて言われるときにね、すごく考えないと悪いことかなと、私自身もその課題をいつも持っています。さてと、今日はね、日本に住んでいる海外の人からのコメントを聞いてみました。じゃあまた別の国にも行ってみたいと思います。